Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
She is known as the queen of compassionate transformation, and she's somebody that can really help you along in your healing process and also just really change your life. She's the founder and healer of Mindful Healing Heart. Winnie Wang joins us again today. Hey, Winnie, how are you doing?
Hey, Steve, how's it going? I'm so happy to be back on.
It's great to have you back here. And I love what we're going to talk about today because I think it really affects most of us in terms of when you have a thought or you're going to do something, you deny that thought. Basically, we're talking about denial today, right?
Yeah, denial and suppression and childhood trauma and how it's all perfect.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've hit upon this before, how childhood trauma, many of us don't realize that we've gone through it. And with that, it could have been just a couple of things that were said to you when you were 4 years old, but it's affected you, it's impacted you along the way. You might not realize it, or you might be denying it.
Yeah, it was really funny because this morning, actually, this is how fresh it is. I was meditating, and the one word that was given to me was integrity. And I thought, okay, so we're going to talk about integrity today, or it's homework for me to learn more about integrity. And the other word that I thought about immediately with integrity is authenticity. Mm-hmm. And being the nerd that I am, I'm like, well, I don't actually think I know enough about integrity and authenticity. Let me go on Google and do a little search and read a little bit about what is the difference between integrity and authenticity. It turns out they're actually quite different.
You know what? I'm really curious because I've got the integrity part, and I think that's a very important word, at least in my world. Authenticity, kind of, got that as well, but I'm wondering what the exact definition of both are.
Integrity is doing the right thing. It's being moral. Mm-hmm. It's being your word, like I promise to do this and I deliver. But then that begs the question, what is right? So, if we talk about abortion and rights, there are parts of the country that think one thing is right, and then there's parts of the country where they think something else is right. So it's interesting because integrity is actually something that depends on social norms, right? So if you live in this part of the country, this is in integrity. And if you live in another part of the country, something else can be in integrity. So it's something that is defined socially, and doing the right thing, it's fulfilling the expectation of you, right? So for example, if I go to the library and there's a sign that says silence, the right thing to do is not talk on the phone or not play a YouTube video that disturbs my neighbors. Now, let's talk about authenticity, right? So authenticity is being true to myself, listening to my needs and my wants. So it's interesting because if we go back to the library example, maybe in that moment, I really, really wanted to talk to my neighbor, or I really, really want to pick up the phone and call someone and yell at them, how dare you cheat on me? Or maybe in that moment, I really want to go on YouTube and watch this video, right? But then if I was authentic, I would maybe be selfish. Maybe I would cause disruption to other people. But then if I am really in my integrity, it could make me really rigid and righteous and make me a really not fun person to hang out with. I don't know if you've ever met somebody who's always doing the right thing and always smiling, and it just kind of pisses you off.
I know somebody like that, and he's a great
Okay,
guy. He's a great guy. Can't take it away. And I respect him immensely.
so here's the thing. I'm a mother. And as a mother, what do you think we are? We try to tell our kids what the right thing to do is all the time, right? So I had this aha moment, which is, to my children, I am too much in my integrity because I'm always expecting to do the right thing. And who decides what's right? Me, right? And why do I think something is right or wrong? It depends on my childhood. It depends on my parents, my culture, which part of the country I currently live in, which school I went to, my life experience. And what's interesting is what's true and in integrity for me might not be true and integrity for my daughter. Right? Because I'm an immigrant and I'm, Chinese, and my family values can be different than my children because they're born and raised in America, and the baby daddy is also born and raised in America. So they have very American values of what a family is, whereas I have a very Chinese value of what a family is. And even though I have lived in America for, wow, over 20 years, but still, in fact, I have lived in America longer than I have lived in, Hong Kong. But our subconscious, which dictates 95 to 98% of the way we behave, in science, it's formed between age 0 and 7. Right? So you can take Winnie out of one place and put her in another country, but 95 to 98% of her scripts is still from another country.
Yep.
And so who am I to tell my children what is right and wrong? But at the same time, it is my job as a parent to guide them and to give them my values, love, forgiveness, compassion, humility, gratitude, all of those good things. So that's where authenticity comes in, because I get to leave room for them to be authentic. I get to leave room for me to be authentic, right? So basically, if you look at the Tao symbol of integrity and authenticity, it's like yin and yang. You want both to be in balance, right? So if you're too much in your authenticity, you're being selfish and disruptive to society. But if you're too much in integrity, then you're rigid and you're constantly judgmental, right? Do you know somebody who's really judgmental?
Many people, and I try to think if I think they have integrity. So I have to put that two together. But you bring up a lot of great points, because integrity, as I'm learning from you, is very subjectionable. It, like you said, depends on the part of the country, and there's a lot of variables there, whereby authenticity, to me, that word means real. You're being your real self. But if you're also being displaying integrity, now you have a challenge. Like you just said, it's got to be a very delicate balance in between the two. You want to be true to yourself, but you also want to do the right thing.
Yeah. So basically, it's a balance and it's compromising. I want to do the right thing per society norm.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to be true to myself. And it's really funny because now we talk about suppression and denial, right? Because as children, I think we were all born authentic, right? So all of us, when we come to this earth as babies, we already came with personalities. For example, my older daughter would breastfeed for 40 minutes. My younger daughter would breastfeed for 7 minutes. So basically, my older daughter, even if she's full, she just wants to stay at the breast because she likes to be held. My younger daughter, it's all about business. Let's get down to business. You got no milk, I'm gone. I'm just here to eat. And when the food is gone, I'm done. See you later. So at that point, when I'm breastfeeding, I haven't put in my own values into my children, but they already came with personality, if you will. Isn't that so interesting?
No, it really is. Because when you think, and I think about my kids when they were younger, they had personalities, even as babies, what they look at, what they respond to, and that's the beginning of their personality. Sure.
So basically, all of us are authentic when we were born as babies.
Yeah.
And then through parents, school, society, we learn what's right and wrong from our parents, from school, and then we learn to do what is right. And it's really funny because now I look back at my so-called childhood trauma, and I'm like, oh, yeah, my mom did suppress me a lot. But at the same time, I also have so much compassion for her because everything that she tried to fix or correct in me is really out of love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if we stayed really authentic our whole life, we would have no friends, no relationship, no lovers, no community, if we're always just thinking selfishly for ourselves.
Because there would be no boundaries. You just be doing whatever you want. Yeah, I really know. Well, that's going to offend them. That's I'm being authentic. I don't really care. I'm going to say it anyway. So yeah, you're right. If we didn't observe that, it could get pretty nasty after a while.
Right. So for example, if I'm authentic, I'm going to show up at the yoga studio whenever I feel like it. It could be 9:05, it could be 9:45. Hey, you know what? I feel like doing yoga. And so I'm going to feel my way into the yoga room.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the class starts at 9 a.m., So as children, we learned to have discipline and integrity and show up on time. And maybe we feel suppressed because my mom might be like, okay, now put the toys away. It's time to put your shoes on and get to school. And as a child, I might be like, wait a minute, but I love my toy. Why did my mom deny me of my toy? Why did my mom suppress me from playing with my toy?
Well, you said something before, and I think it's pretty powerful when we talk about integrity. It's not just the social norms and things like that. It can also be showing up on time. That is really, now who's going to say that's not the right thing to do? I don't think anybody. Who's going to complain? Winnie, why'd you show up on time? Why are you here on time? Why aren't you 10 minutes late? And the other word that when I think of this one guy who I feel has a lot of integrity, and I work with him for a lot of years, and we're friends. Trust. I totally trust him because I feel that he's got what I call integrity. And I think that trust is another word that, is part of integrity.
Yeah, exactly. So integrity is what makes us reliable. What integrity and authenticity share is this idea of honesty. However, there's also a time difference. I feel that integrity is okay, I promise I'll be on time, and I will honor my word. So I make a promise about the future and I'm going to deliver. And it can create a lot of stress because, well, what if I run into traffic? What if I have to go bathroom number 2 right before I got out of the, got into the car?
Yeah.
And then being authentic is listening to the current moment and really honoring this moment. So for example, and this literally happened to me, like let's say I have a 1 o'clock appointment in the office and it takes me 15 minutes to get to the office. And right as I get into the car, I have an urge to go bathroom number 2. Now, if I'm being authentic, I would listen to my body. And you know what? When I gotta go, I gotta go. Let me text my client and tell him, hey, I'm so sorry, but I suddenly have to go to the bathroom. But if I'm in integrity, then I'm like, Winnie, you just hold your bathroom needs until the end of the day. You go, you see all your clients, you chuck through, and then at night when all the clients are gone, then you go to bathroom. So you see, it's not really right or wrong. There are some instances when it makes sense to be like, you know what, I'll put my needs aside and let me go serve because I promise and I will deliver.
But wouldn't integrity also be telling that person, I'm running late, I'm sorry, I'll be there, in 15 minutes past what we said? Somebody who might not have integrity would say, I really don't care. I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'll get there. I'll be there 15 minutes late. They'll be okay. They can wait. So I think maybe that's the balance right there. And you are being authentic in telling somebody, listen, I got to go to the bathroom. I'm going to be 15 minutes late.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, when we do that, it requires vulnerability, right? It requires an admission that, oh my God, I'm a human being.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I can't deliver what I promised because something has come up.
But aren't you being authentic?
Yes. So it's really about having the compassion, right? Because if I have compassion for my human needs, when I share my human needs, other people will be more likely to have compassion. Will be like, yeah, okay, she really needed that extra 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah. It is. I think you nailed it before in saying that it's a delicate balance, between the two. You want to be authentic to yourself. Yeah, I'm going to be late. Have to go to the bathroom. As long as you're remorseful for it, I'm really sorry. I really got to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to be 15 minutes late. I hope that's okay. As opposed to saying either nothing, not integrity, or saying, I'll be 15 minutes late. See you when I get there. All right. That's not horrible. At least you let them know. But to be authentic is to be honest as well and just be yourself. Yeah. Here's the reason why. It's everybody's been in that situation.
What's funny is I was raised to have a lot of integrity. And I have been perhaps one of the most judgmental people living on this earth. Always doing the right thing and always expecting my children to do the right thing. And getting really angry when people are not doing the right thing, by the way, because righteous anger, right?
And not just your kids, just anybody. I'll be honest with you. When he drives me crazy when people don't do the right thing. I'm going to say, I'm put it out there. I'm going to say it. And, in my situation, even dealing with my ex, it's like I write hashtag do the right thing. That's what I believe in.
Yes.
That's what I believe in. That's it.
Exactly. We all want everyone else to do the right thing.
Right.
And then at some point, because I've been so suppressed in my childhood to always do what is expected of me, and I've been so disconnected from my authenticity. In the beginning of my awakening, when I first gained my authenticity, Oh, I would not let anyone tell me anything. It's like I swing from people pleasing and always doing what other people expected of me as the right thing to all the way be like, cuss word,
Yeah.
cuss word. I'm going to do whatever I want because I've been suppressed for too long and I just have to do it. And this is in itself is a trauma response because it's like, I'm not going to let anybody override. I'm not going to listen to nobody. I'm not going to make no compromises. I'm going to have really firm boundaries about who I am. I'm not going to let anyone mess with who I am. And then the journey is to find compassion for the trauma that you've been suppressed and denied, and to recognize, you know what, I'm a strong person now. I can be authentic when I want. And I am so strong that I can actually be both. I can be in the middle, not because I'm a people pleaser, because I value the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm willing to compromise because I value the connection. So I don't need to be right. I don't need to be me. I value us. I value breathing together in harmony. So I'm not going to tell you what's right, and I'm not going to insist on my way. I'm just going to meet you where you are.
Interesting thought. Yeah. And you nailed it too when you just said you value the relationship. So it's important. And I would have to say that the gentleman that I spoke of before, he comes from integrity, and I feel that he values my connection with him as I do his. So it's kind of like a mutual thing. But when it gets off balance with anybody, that's where you have a problem, where one person is completely in your mind, not doing the right thing. It's hard to be authentic. And sometimes maybe the answer is to walk away. I don't know.
Yeah. So for all of the listeners who are still feeling angry about their childhood trauma, I'm with you. And that's why chapter 2.3 of my book, Honoring Darkness, Embrace Shadow Work to Nourish and Grow Your Power, talks about this suppression, generation, great grandmother, grandmother, mother, me, and then my daughter, right? So until I did the work to heal myself from this ancestral suppression, like one generation suppress another,
Yep.
then I'm just always going to feel suppressed. I'm never going to be able to speak my truth, but also be in a place where I'm strong enough to compromise.
But what you're saying is true for all of us. Every culture is different. So, factor that out. But the generational thing, my parents treated me a certain way, their parents treated them a certain way, and on back. And it's the cycle that just continues going along until you break the cycle and you realize, no, wait a minute, there's maybe a better way or a more plugged in way to parent your kids. I wish I would have realized that all this information that we're talking about, I wish I knew that when my kids were much younger, because I would have definitely been a different person around them. I didn't realize, the 0 to 7 thing, how that impacts your adult life so much, and even your teen life. I had no idea. And I wish you never can say never go back because it's all a lesson, but never knew. Wish I did.
And so for Steve and myself and all the listeners out there, if we are parents and we feel like we have already done the suppression of our children because our children are older than 7, let's take a deep breath together. Inhale and exhale. Let's find the compassion, knowing that we've already done our best the way that we have parented. We love our kids so much. And we honestly did the best that we could.
with what we had. And what we had was how we were taught from our parents. Not to take anything away from them, because that's how they were taught. So now starting new, and you know what? You can, unless your kids are adults, it never doesn't mean you game over. You can react to that and realize those certain things. Like my mom was really overprotective. And when my kids were younger, my youngest is 14, and she's with me, I was very overprotective until I realized it. It was like, all right, you're not going to fall. And if you do, oh, well, it's not so bad. It's life will go on. But, back then it was like, oh my God, don't fall. Because that's how my mom treated me.
Yep.
And we realize it and we move on.
Yeah. Compassion is realizing that you couldn't have been the parent you wanted at that time.
Yes. If there's anything that we just, sound bites, there it is right there. Yeah, absolutely. And for whatever reason, there's all different reasons for that. And I could, not that I'm coming up with excuses, but back in the day, I worked a lot of hours, got no sleep, could have been a better parent in that regard, could have been more aware of things. Yeah, there's different things, you maybe culturally, you couldn't have been the kind of parent you wanted to be because of certain reasons, whatever they might be. But, the most important thing here, I think, Winnie, is we're talking about it and realizing it. We know it, and we know our childhood trauma. For people that don't, take some time, meditate, think about it. It's I don't want to say that everybody doesn't have any, because I'm sure we do. In somebody could have said something in a room when you were 4 years old, not even directed at you, and it made a mark in your mind, and you lived your life based on that one comment. It could be as simple as that, and that could be considered trauma, amazing as it might be. But it's a possibility, right?
Exactly. And that's why I started this compassionate transformation community. So if you go on to www.mindfulhealingheart.com and find the navigation for community, it's free. You just join. And every Wednesday, actually, I do some community healing. And then I also have a private coaching program where weekly we take the journey. And actually this Friday, we're going to take the journey from denial and suppression and look at all those childhood stuff. And we're going to end the journey in compassion.
Love that. Love it. What are some of the other things, real quick? We have like a minute left, that you can do virtually. I know you do acupuncture, correct?
Yes. And you can do anything. Love melts all blockages. Literally, compassion is the most powerful healing that you can offer yourself.
Yeah. And what's your definition of compassion?
Compassion is validating that if you put 10 human in your shoes, 10 human would have done the same thing, right? So if you had the childhood that I had, you would have done the same thing. And so it's embracing and accepting the totality of the way you have lived and behaved up until this point.
Gotcha. And part of me would say also compassion is caring about yourself and caring about others, feeling their feelings.
Vibrations don't lie. I love that. So how I find compassion for myself is how I find compassion for everyone, 360 degrees. Doesn't matter if it's my parents, my children, my clients, my listeners, right? So the work all starts from inside. And that's why my course is called Complete Self-Mastery, because how you love yourself is how you love others. How you find compassion for yourself is how you find compassion for others.
Yep. And sometimes we almost feel guilty to say, but you need to love yourself. It's okay.
But it's exactly, you need to love yourself so you can love others.
Yeah. And so many of us are afraid to even accept the fact that we need to love ourselves because we feel guilty, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. Go to the website, mindfulhealingheart.com. I love talking to you. It's fantastic. And the stuff, that You make us think, Winnie. That's what you do. You make us think, which is a really good thing.
Thank you. I also want to make everybody happy and open everyone's hearts.
Yep. And open our minds. I appreciate it. And look forward to catching up again next time, Winnie.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.